Social media continues to explode in the aftermath of Abu Dhabi, while Nikita Mazepin is stuck in the UAE. You can now watch full 24-minute episodes of The Inside Line at our official home on unbeaten.com. The motorsport world and fans alike were divided over the controversial championship decider in Abu Dhabi, with the vitriol spilling out onto social media in the race's aftermath. 1978 world champion Mario Andretti said he loves champions, records and stories that make his heart race to 300 beats a minute. IndyCar race winner James Hinchcliffe had his tongue in cheek when he said racing is wild when Netflix is making the calls. While future Mercedes driver George Russell was naturally incensed for the brand he's been a part of since 2017. Max is an absolutely fantastic driver who has had an incredible season, and I have nothing but huge respect for him. But what just happened is absolutely unacceptable. I cannot believe what we've just seen, he tweeted. Haas driver Nikita Mazepin had a disappointing finish to his tough rookie campaign after the Russian tested positive for COVID-19 and was ruled out of the final race of the season in Abu Dhabi. The 22-year-old tested positive just hours before the race, meaning Haas could not replace him with reserve Pietro Fittipaldi, given he'd not run in at least one practice session. Mazepin will now isolate in Abu Dhabi for 5 days, although his close contacts will be allowed to leave following a negative PCR test. Abu Dhabi was Kimi Raikkonen's 349th and final Grand Prix start. But while his last few years have been spent at the rear of F1's midfield, the Iceman says he'd do it all the same again. Raikkonen left the sport on 21 wins, 18 poles and 46 fastest laps, with an early retirement from his final race. But said in a chat with F1's official podcast Beyond the Grid that he has no regrets.
I wouldn't change even if I would have mean that I win more races or championships, because change is one thing and I don't think we would be here today. So, and my life would probably be different, but I tried and we failed a few times, but that's a part of racing.
The Iceman, who left with the record for all-time most race starts, even admitted he'd gotten slower over the years since his debut at the 2001 Australian Grand Prix.
Obviously, I was a lot younger than I am now. 20 years makes difference in you for sure. I'm not as fast as I was when I was, 25.
Daniel Ricciardo will head home to Australia for the first time in 2 years, once his duties are completed for McLaren, with the Perth-born racer set for 2 weeks in hotel quarantine. Ricciardo failed to return home at the end of 2020, instead flying to Los Angeles to avoid 2 weeks in a hotel room. But this time, the 32-year-old decided to bite the bullet, stating he needs to get home, despite the difficulty of staring at a hotel room ceiling for 2 weeks before being released. Ricciardo has long enjoyed the restorative effects of a warm Australian summer at the end of the season, having revealed in 2018 what makes him a happy honey badger.
Simple things. When I'm back home, I realize, friends, just being around my friends and that, and just the sun makes me happy. Coming back to Europe, I really realized how much the sun makes me happy.
2022's sole F1 rookie Guan Yujo will race with the number 24 on his Alfa Romeo racing car next year. The Shanghainese pilot finished the F2 season in 3rd place, 69.5 points behind champion Prema Racing's Oscar Piastri, and will move up to the main game from the start of the sport's new era. 24 has not been used since the FIA introduced permanent race numbers from the 2014 season, with Timo Glock then racing for Marussia, the last to run it on his car in 2012. Abu Dhabi's Yas Marina circuit will remain on the calendar until at least 2030. after the UAE Megatrack signed a long-term deal with the sport. Yas Marina joined F1's calendar in 2009, with the state-of-the-art venue constructed at a cost of $1.5 billion US. Changes were made to the track this year to aid overtaking, with turns 11 to 14 replaced with a banked loop. The hotel section opened up, while the hairpin at turn 7 was widened with a straight approach. The deal is no doubt a show of strength from Abu Dhabi, with 4 races now held in the Middle East, including Bahrain, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. Staying in the Middle East and to the Kingdom of Bahrain, where race organizers are considering running sprint qualifying on the outer track before switching to the regular layout for the Grand Prix. F1 tested sprint qualifying at 3 tracks this year: Silverstone, Monza, and Interlagos. But it's understood that the sport would like to run it next year at 6 events, including Bahrain, Imola, Montreal, Austria, Zandvoort, and again in Brazil. The sport is also considering running the sprint as a standalone session, with points awarded, and the result not setting the grid for Sunday's race, making the Bahrain outer loop idea a thrilling proposition. Bahrain's 3.664-kilometer outer circuit uses the opening part of the lap, but peels off at turn 4, with the drivers blasting through a series of high-speed sweepers before reconnecting with the F1 track at turn 13. The layout stunned on debut last year, with George Russell the standout stand-in for Mercedes, a botched pit stop and puncture robbing him of a maiden victory that instead went to Sergio Perez. Next year's Ferrari F1 car is set to run without Mission Winnow branding, with team boss Mattia Binotto stating that Philip Morris International will likely remain, but not as title sponsor. PMI's Mission Winnow branding first appeared on the Ferrari SF71H at the 2018 Japanese Grand Prix, with the initiative marketed as a commitment to innovation and excellence, but the logo is seen to have a striking similarity to Marlboro's. The team has had to remove it at various events since then, where there are strict rules on tobacco advertising, with the logo going green in 2021.
And the green, we didn't expect the green, eh? We got to know it 1 week ago, more or less.
Yeah, true. It was last-minute change, but I have to say that I'm getting used to it, seeing it on the car.
Yeah.
The team has been entered for the 2022 season just as Scuderia Ferrari. It will be all eyes on Formula E in 2022, with Porsche's plans for its future in that series telegraphing a potential move to F1. Porsche, part of the Volkswagen Group, has underperformed in the all-electric series since joining in 2019-20 and is yet to win a race, having finished 8th in the team standings in both seasons. Money that could be better spent in Formula One, with Porsche's Vice President of Motorsport, Thomas Laudenbach, honest on the brand's FE Odyssey and wins and titles the target. The success wasn't as good as we expected, or as we wanted to have. That's a fact, he said. Porsche is committed to the series until the end of the 2023-24 season. But any announcement on its future, expected next year, will no doubt inform the status of its plans for F1. Williams will run at this week's Abu Dhabi postseason test, though it will use the FW43B, not a mule car, on the 18-inch tires. Williams is still the only team yet to test Pirelli's new for 2022 low-profile rubber. But while it will have to wait a little longer, the squad is set to run America's next great hope in Logan Sargeant. The 20-year-old from Florida was runner-up in the UAE F4 series and 3rd in British F4. He was again 3rd at Macau in 2019 and also in the 2020 F3 series. He stayed there this year and will step up to F2 full-time next year with Carlin. Sargeant is part of the Williams Young Driver Academy and is the United States' next big thing, though there is also pressure for the sport to bring in an established star from IndyCar. Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.